What is up, guys? This is JDL Productions, and I've decided to do something that I've never really done before, just to experiment with it. So if I do it and I like it, maybe I'll do it more often, and if I do it and I don't like it, then I won't do it again. So basically what this is going to be is it's actually going to be a double smoke alarm overview. So I've got two brand new smoke alarms that I just got today. I originally did make an unboxing video, but of course it just wasn't very good. So I've decided to remake it. I'm actually in the spare bedroom right now, which is soon to be my mom's office, but it's just the spare bedroom for right now. Just because it's a little more roomy, and you don't get to hear my annoying fans. So yeah, that's why I'm in here. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say. Let's go ahead and get into it. So we'll start with this one here. This is the First Alert SA150LT. This has an escape light as well as the light test feature. Now, they also had a version of this, of course, without the light test, and that one is the SA120C slash SA125C slash SA130C. That one was just like this, except it had an LED instead of light test. Now, this one is the later variant. This one is from the early 90s. Here's the box for it. It actually has the same design of box that the second gen SA67D had. And believe it or not, this is actually from the same era as the second gen SA67D. Even though the cover is large and resembles a first generation SA67D, it is from the same era as the second gen SA67D. Now, they were actually making these in the same era as the first gen ones. And some of the early versions, like the one Dan/Temple92 has, they actually had yellow buttons for the light test instead of the gold buttons, which the newer ones had. So, yeah, pretty cool. And, let's see, there's also an ad for some fire extinguishers right there, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, now the box does have a little bit of wear, but it was sealed, so that was good. And luckily, there was not a single bit of battery corrosion, which, as you can see, these are the original batteries. There's a First Alert carbon zinc battery, and then there's an alkaline battery. Now they don't have any corrosion at all, believe it or not, except this one. For some reason, the bottom of it's like a little lumpy. I don't know why, but they didn't have any corrosion at all, and I'm really glad they didn't, because otherwise I would have had to clean it up, and it would have just been a hassle. And to be honest, sometimes I really just don't feel like doing that stuff. So, yeah, I don't know why I took my earplug out. But, yeah, now, here's the manual. I don't really feel like looking on the inside of it, which I don't think many people care. I know some people do, but most people don't. So I'm not going to bore you guys out by showing you that. Now, if you really wanted to see it, I'm sorry. I just don't really feel like showing it. They have an SA150LT on there, as well as an SA88, which is basically a SA90LT with a hush button. So, yeah, which the SA90LT is basically just a second gen SA67D, except it has light test. So, yeah, there's really not much more to say. And then, I guess I could explain the history. So, right after the SA150LT, they actually made an SA150LTD, which actually has the same size cover as the second gen SA67D, and it actually resembles a second gen SA67D, whereas this one sort of has a larger cover, which resembles the first gen SA67D. Dan actually has an SA150LTD, as well as Ian, or Tubby's Alarms Reviews and more. Now, Ian's actually does code 3. His is one of the really late versions that does code 3, and Dan's does 4.6, and they also made a version of the SA150LTD that has a closed grill, and then they have one that has a completely open grill. And Dan's and Ian's both have closed grills. I might get an SA150LT if I find one, but I don't really want one that much. They're a little bit newer, to be honest. And yeah, not sure if I show you. There's the label, SA150LT. Let's go ahead and look at the inside. So here's the inside. It's pretty basic. You got your light there, and there's where the two batteries are. Of course, one for the light, one for the actual detector itself. There's the piezo, which it's the older style one with the 3 tinier holes instead of the 2 tiny holes and the 1 larger hole. And of course, you got your plastic ionization chamber, and it has these 3 little bolts on it. So yeah, which these 3 little bolt thingies right here, those are a little rare to see on these sensors. So yeah, I don't think they made any SA150LTs or SA120C/SA125C/SA130Cs that actually had the metal false alarm sensor. I don't think they did. And then there's your there's the actual light test thing itself. It's some sort of diode. I don't know what it's actually called. I mean, I know what it's called. I just can't think of what it's called right now. So but yeah. Now, I did try doing light test on it. Like, I tried using the light test feature, but it didn't really work. So I'm just not going to try it again. So we're just going to use the test button. And the light is pretty bright. I'm going to go ahead and do it again. So, yeah. Now, that's basically it for the SA150LT. Pretty cool. And if I didn't mention, it is from the early 90s, which you could probably tell by the box design. It actually did say 1990 on the box, but whenever it says that, that's not always the like the actual date of the detector. So for right now, we're just gonna say circa 1990, because that's basically what it is. If I see a date on the box or the manual, because like I said, it's not always the actual date of the detector, I just say that the detector is from circa whatever that date is. So yeah, now we're going to move on to the one that I was actually, believe it or not, a little more excited to get. This is a FireX FX1014. I have wanted one of these for so long. Not an FX1014 specifically, but just some sort of AC buzzer FireX. And this one was actually quite a bargain. I think I got it for like $14 or so. Now, I've actually seen these on eBay. Not the FX1014 specifically, but like the FXW-1s and the FXW-1As and the FX1020s. I've seen them on eBay before for upwards of $65. Which is pretty bad. So, yeah. Now, this is basically just an FXW-1/FXW-1A/FX1020. The only difference, really, is that it does not have interconnect. As you can see, it just has a white and black wire, no red wire. So, it does not have interconnect. And this one, actually, as you can see there, which it is powered right now, this one actually has the tiered style test button, which is the same style that Enlin's FXW-1 has. So yeah. Now, and of course, most of them had the dome button, but of course, there were some rare versions like this one that had the tier button. I mean, they're not that much more rare than the dome button ones, but they're a little more rare. So yeah. Now, I would personally prefer for it to have a dome button, but the tiered button is cool too. I'm not really that picky. So yeah, now if we look at the back of it, the wires actually come in through the back of the detector. Like, there's no AC clip, they just come right in through the detector. So let's go ahead and take the bracket off. I'm gonna set the camera down to do. Alright, so here's the back of it. There's the bracket. It's the exact same one that my Jameson Code 1 CD1 and my Sunbeam 4551 uses. Now, here's the back of it. Now, what I like is the lettering on the label is actually green. I thought that was pretty cool. I don't think that's a date. I mean, it might be like 85 March 2nd, but I I don't think so. That's probably just a serial number or something like that. But for the date, I would have to assume, well, I know these were made from like the early to mid 80s. I'm pretty sure. There's no date on it. I've looked through the box, or I've looked on the box. I've looked through the manual, seeing if I can find one, and I can't find any anywhere. But I do know that these were made from the early to mid 80s. I'm pretty sure. So it's from sometime from the early to mid 80s. But yeah. Now, of course, the AC Buzzer series of alarms, right after they made all those, they actually did have a piezo variant. They had a piezo one. It was 120 volt AC with battery backup, and it was the FX1014, and that one had a piezo in it. So yeah, but before they made those, they had the AC Buzzer ones, and these are classics. These are probably one of the most classic detectors pretty much ever. And these were pretty much known to terrify kids, especially in the 80s. Kids were terrified of these things. And I can definitely see why. These AC Buzzers are definitely pretty loud, except this one is actually not as loud as I thought it was going to be. I'm going to test it in a minute, but it's not as loud as I thought it was going to be. So, yeah, now let's go ahead and look at the manual and box. So, here's the manual. It is very similar to the manual of the older FXB-1s, like the, I think the earlier piezo, like the early to mid-80s FireX FXB had this manual as well, and I think the really old FireX FXB from the 70s that had the squealer horn used this manual as well, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah. And not sure if I mentioned this, but the type of horn this has in it is the Kobishi CLB-27. 26. Which the Kobishi CLB-26 is the AC buzzer version of the CLB-27. So, yeah, now it does have a red power indicator right there. The FX1218 has a green one. Now let's go ahead and look at the box real quick, and my camera's not focusing. It's basically just a contractor-style box. Of course, there's no, like, cool box art or anything. It's just a basic contractor's box. Nothing really too special. So yeah, now there's really not much else to say about this. Let's go ahead and give it a test. And like I said, it's honestly not that loud. So yeah, I'm gonna do it, guys. I'm going to face my fears and well, not really fears, but I did kind of have a childhood fear of AC buzzer alarms because of the 1830 guys. They were in my grandparents' old house, but I'm gonna do this without ear protection. Here we go. Yeah, that honestly was not that bad. It's not nearly as loud as my Captain Kelly. I mean, those freaking Delta alarms, those things pack a freaking punch. These Kobishi CLB-26s really aren't that bad. I'm honestly surprised. Now, I can guarantee you that if I was not wearing anything on my ears and this thing just randomly went off, it would probably scare the living shit out of me, but honestly, it's not that loud. Loud enough to the point where it will wake somebody up during a fire. But yeah, there's really not much else to say. I've wanted one of these for quite some time now. I remember when I was little, this was like my ultimate holy grail, even though I probably wouldn't have known how to wire it up at that point. But yeah, so that is the review of the First Alert SA150LT and the FireX FX1014. Thank you for watching.